All right, we're going to go to Danny. He's got a 2020 Ford Transit cargo van. Danny, tell us what's going on with this thing.
Well, good afternoon, and how are y'all doing today?
We're doing great. Thanks for hanging on as long as you have, Danny.
Not a problem. I'm still at work, so it gives me something to do.
All right.
Yeah, I've got this van. We use it for delivery at our work. It's got about 80,000 miles on it, and just in the last couple of weeks, it has started skipping. Well, I call it skipping. It might be considered jumping. Happens when you're accelerating. Happens when you're cruising along. There's no check engine light. Doesn't seem to, the weather or nothing seems to have any difference. Took it to my regular mechanic, who is terrific. I trust him explicitly, and he couldn't seem to find anything wrong with the ignition system. So before I take it to the dealership, I thought I'd give the greatest automotive knowledge person in Orlando a try.
All right. Well, you know, Danny, I'm going to tell you, you know, your mechanic that you've been using, what he's looking for is when he scanned it, he's looking for misfire codes, you know, and usually on a vehicle like that, it'll set a code. Like if you've got a misfire on number 1 cylinder or number 5 or 6 or whatever. And if he's not getting that misfire code to kind of point him into the direction of an ignition coil or a insulator on the coil or possibly a spark plug, see, all he would be doing is pretty much just sheer guesswork. And the dealer is going to be facing the same thing if there's not a misfire code in the computer system itself. Now, you know, this could go on for a long time. I'm going to tell you my gut feeling on this. Do you know which engine is in this? Is it a 3.5?
I believe it is, but I'm not really sure, Larry. I didn't check that.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, this is kind of what we see. You know, the valve covers on that motor, they're made out of plastic. Yep, plastic. I mean, who would have ever thunk it? Plastic valve covers on a motor. Well, over time, just from the heat, that plastic will distort a little bit. Now, you've got more going on there than just sealing external oil leaks. You've also got spark plug well seals that's integrated into that plastic valve cover. And what can happen is over time, a little bit of heat getting in there and that plastic distorts a little bit, and it starts allowing a little bit of oil to seep down into the spark plug cavity, which is just a deep well that runs right through the valve cover right on into the cylinder head. And what it'll do is that little bit of seepage of oil might get down in there, and it starts accumulating over a period of time. Next thing you know, it gets over the bottom of the spark plug, and it starts oil saturating the insulator that runs from the ignition coil down to the spark plug. And when that oil starts saturating that insulator, you'll start getting these intermittent daggone misfires. And sometimes the computer will pick it up, sometimes it won't. But I'm sure your tech that you're using, I'm sure he scanned it and he didn't see a misfire code, probably couldn't duplicate your problem. And so therefore what winds up happening is he's afraid to, you know, it sounds like a trustworthy guy. Me personally, what I would have done in a case like this is probably said, listen, Danny, what we should do is just pull all the coils out of the engine and look to see if there's any oil saturation on them, just to inspect them. You see what I'm saying? And if there is one with oil on it, then, you know, hey, it's probably going to wind up needing to have the valve covers. In some cases, those valve covers, like you know, if you remember earlier part of my conversation here, plastic, a lot of times we just replace the whole cover, you know, because it's plastic, you know. I mean, how much heat do you think it's going to be able to withstand? Now, here comes the other question. This being a 2020 model Ford Transit cargo van, you think you're still under some type of a warranty, or do you think it has exceeded that? I know it's a work van, and I usually, have you checked into that?
I did, and it has exceeded the warranty on that.
Okay, all right.
Stuff. So,
you know what? I'm going to tell you. I know this is a company vehicle, but realistically, if you've got a guy that you trust, Danny, it might be in your best interest to take it back to him and have him pull those coils out. It's not that big of a job. Well, anything with a van is a pain, in the rear. But, the bottom line is, in this particular case, I'd probably have him go ahead and yank the coils out of this thing and just do an inspection on them. And at 80,000 mile, it's not going to hurt a thing to go ahead and throw a fresh set of spark plugs in it. And I would at least, if I didn't see anything with those insulators, I'd probably go ahead and replace the insulators, which are just the rubber boots, and put a fresh set of spark plugs in it and take it. If he sees one that's got anything weird going on with the coil, any markings or anything like that, I would definitely go ahead and replace a coil too while I was in there if I seen anything wrong with it and if I didn't have any codes, but you just want to inspect it closely. But this is really all that can be done, whether you take it back to your tech and tell him what I said, or whether you take it to the dealer. I think they're all going to pretty much point you in that same direction, because an intermittent misfire like that, and if it's not setting a code, and anybody out there that's in this industry will tell you, nowadays on cars, usually it will set a misfire code for a particular cylinder if you've got that going on. But what it is, it has to happen within a few key cycles repetitively. If it doesn't, then of course sometimes it don't store the code. But I would almost bet money you're dealing with a coil, insulator, or spark plug issue. Most likely coil or insulator. And if we see oil on it, we're going to flip a coin on whether to try a new set of gaskets or just replace the valve covers itself with the new gaskets already in them from Ford. Danny, thank you so much for your call, and I hope this helps you.
You bet. Thanks a lot, and Merry Christmas.
Hey, same to you.
Thank you so much, Danny. That opens up a line for you to get on with Larry Perry right now. The number is 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBO. More of your questions, more of Larry's answers. The Magic Mechanic Show. We'll be right back.